Welcome back to Rico's Way. This is episode 17, part 5 of how Riko did it. Welcome back. There can be a greater time to share with you of how to survive through difficult times. It's now September. The stay-at-home order has been lifted, but we can only eat outside of restaurants. You can't go wherever you want to go. Things are still not ordinary. It leaves this film or this layer of uncertainty. Many people have lost their jobs, and there's many people who are still not working that they don't know if they're going to have a job to go back to. So it is like, okay, when is this going to end and when is everything going to change? And that creates a huge uncertainty and uneasiness for everybody. So I apologize for not making the videos. The whole quarantine really made me focus on other things. Been doing a lot of gardening. Been doing a lot of cycling, as you see from the bike in the background. I've been remodeling my garage. That's why I'm this new setup. Put some headers up there for you. Little $2,000 desk art. Got an old XR4, and then that's my idler's helmet when I raced in Japan for the 12-hour enduro with their RWB a few years ago. So this is the new background. Got the new mic set up. Hope you guys enjoy it. But let's get back to the video. So, I think even though I haven't made a video for a few months, the shoe still hasn't dropped for the economy. So this video is still very critical, and I feel informative for you of what I have to tell you. So, I hope from this video that you can take something to help you out of this situation. Talking about how I climbed myself out of the 2008 recession, and this one that's coming, it could be worse than the 2008 on the horizon. In part 4 of the video series of how Riko did it, I shared with you of how, with my father and my mother, we created a successful construction business that ran for almost 8 years, building and remodeling homes in Oakland, California. But then we got caught, like most in the wake of the 2008 recession, and what was a roaring economy had a bucket of water dumped onto it. Better yet, a waterfall onto the fire, leaving nothing behind, and it would take roughly another 10 years for those embers to return to a roaring real estate economy. So we have a 10-year window to reach the exact momentum of the 2000 real estate economy. But what to do? I can't hold my breath for 10 years. I can't stop eating. I can't tell my creditors to ignore me for 10 years. Cycles are normal, and we know from history of how long it takes to recover. Still, we are human beings, and we need to eat every day. I have bills to pay. I have dreams. I need structure. I need purpose. Recession is also a time when depression will sink in. Recession is also a time when depression will sink in due to you not having anywhere to go to work. No one calling, no one needing you. The function of the day-to-day program that you have grown natural, it's gone. This is a time of loss, sorrow, blame, divorce, unhappiness. It can really take you down. It's a tender time, it's a tender period of your life. You're very vulnerable. You're fragile. You're weak. In this video, I'm going to show with you of how I went through it, but also how you can bounce back out of this. As long as you have the basics, so you can walk, you can talk, you still have a head on your shoulders, there's no excuse for you not to come out of this till you're dead. So in this last episode, I want to share with you of what happened to me. How I was able to dig my way out of it. I did take my own share of hits and losses. It was no easy task. Even to this day, I know people that have never recovered from the 2008 crash. It's easier just to willow away and become an employee compared to a business owner losing it all, then recreating a new business again and thrive. It takes a lot of balls, guts, and drive to be a company owner. So how does it all go away? Does it work like a light switch? Does your company just get turned off? I would prefer to say it's more like a dimmer switch. You don't catch it right away because you can still see. But then someone tells you, hey, the lights are dimmer. And over time it gets darker and darker. You're still in the room. But as it gets darker, people start to leave the room. They can't deal with the low light. Eventually it's just you. You're on the ground, feeling your way through the darkness. And that's what it means to be a business owner. During dark times when everyone leaves, it's just you. So I like the dimmer analogy. If it dims down, I can dim it back up. But first I need to find a switch. You see, when I was moving around in the dark, I fell and tripped. I hurt my leg, hurt my elbow, I'm dizzy. So I just can't get up and walk over and raise it back to full brightness. This is going to take some creativity and patience to figure out. I need to heal myself and get back up. Or I could just give into my wounds and just lie on the ground and die. In other words, close my business and just wither away. Seeing a business close, boarded up, close notifications, you stop seeing their ads. This we've all seen, and we accept it. Well, that didn't work out. They couldn't make it work. They didn't have the right formula. This is common for people to think. When you see a business struggling during a downturn, like right now, you may care to notice, and you may ask, how long do you have? How bad is it? Do you think it will come back? In other words, as a business owner, it's up to you to survive. All people notice is that when you're dead or just about to die. When you're doing well, it's business as usual and you fit right in with everyone else. But when things go bad, it's on your shoulders. It's just like relationships in life. When you have the money, everyone's around you and you're the life of the party. But when you stop having money to dish out, the party stops and friends leave. Same concept. No one cares when you disappear. And during this downturn, the government didn't bail us out like they're doing right now. No one bailed out the real estate industry or the construction industry. Everyone just watched us die and wither away. It was a very sad period and frustrating that there was no help coming. So back to my story. In 2007, the lights started to dim. We could still see in the room. Our first action was to slow down. We committed ourselves to finishing the homes that we had bought or the ones that were near completion. There was no point in abandoning the homes or taking what we had and run because they had the best chance of being sold as finished products. In 2008, the room got darker. By then, it was just my father and I working on the last home to be remodeled. Taking action is critical. Don't wait. I felt we couldn't do flipping or remodeling anymore for ourselves, but maybe we could do it for others. So I took the state board test and I became a B1 general contractor. Since the whole time we were building as owner builders, I was able to pass a test on the first try. So it was time to broadcast that we were now general contractors. In a coming recession period, we leaned back on ourselves of how we used to market ourselves in real estate. We made door tags. My father and I delivered them to homes in Hayward, hoping to grab remodeling or expansion jobs. We did snag a few jobs from friends, but neither was like working on our own. Now we had to sway to the request of the customer and deal with all the aspects of customer service. We did do the projects, HVAC, bathroom models, kitchens, but it was a rude awakening and an unpleasant experience, to be honest. It was a complete opposite of what we want, as we had been for almost a decade. We did as we pleased. There was no more designing or building as the market desired, or for enjoyment. So the environment was slim pickings. In a recession, people didn't need a new kitchen. They didn't need to add a new bedroom to their home. But what was a critical blow was who we were. You see, for years, I didn't have any clients. We bought and sold. I purchased the land, I built it, and then I sold it. And that was the end of the story. So I had no customer base. So even with a license and all the experience that we had, I didn't have a portfolio to lean on during this period. Secondly, the only contractors that were working were in very affluent areas. And there was no way I could just break into these areas into that market at that time with limited funds and resources. And the lights dim more. Keep moving. You got to keep moving. You have to move. I had worked in Oakland for many years and also created a great relationship with the city of Oakland staff. So I went to city and frankly, I went to ask about becoming a city inspector since now I had my B1 license and years of experience. I even asked about becoming a police officer because it was recommended to me from the city staff. But while I was there, I was given a tip about working with the city, that the city gives out contracts to contractors. What's this all about? Bid on what? What were we going to be doing now? Us, the people that were building homes from $500,000 to $1 million. What did they want us to do? The real estate recession had caused people to lose their homes. It was common in 2007 and 2008 to see for sale signs everywhere, multiple on one street, and the ones that couldn't sell, people just walked away from their homes. And in Oakland, these abandoned homes would attract squatters, crime, and etc. So the work to be done in that bid packet was to go into these abandoned homes, remove all the trash from the homes and the vegetation. We would then have to board up all the windows and install doors with a chain and lock. And so these jobs would take us from the rough areas to the good areas and all that goes with that. All the way up into the Oakland Hills, which is a very affluent area. We were even boarding up multi-million-dollar homes. The downturn hit everyone. So we would take, a thermos of hot water and have a cup of noodles on the job site. It was a drastic change from my trips to Monaco. You could say we were doing work beneath us. Or you could say below our skill level. But honestly, at this period, I didn't see it that way. I just wanted to survive. And the one thing we did like about, we didn't have to please anyone's wife or husband. We just had to please the code inspector. You are not alone in the wild looking for scraps. There was more on the bid packet we were given. Also, the Oakland Fire Department. They had to maintain fire prevention or what you could say, they call it vegetation management. And we were the ones that were going to be doing that work. So mainly in the Oakland Hills or large vacant lots throughout Oakland, a regular job would be that, it would be a roadside in the Oakland Hills, and we would have to clean 20 feet in, but for about a mile. At the longest, at the extreme. We would have our fire extinguishers. We also would have water tanks on hand. But what enabled us to do both projects was that I had the trucks. I had a dump truck. I had the tools from construction. I have chainsaws, etc. All this equipment. So all my father and I needed was extra labor to complete these tasks. When you're in the wild, sometimes you get eaten. We stopped after a year working for the city. Why stop? It was a dog-eat-dog, shark frenzy atmosphere. Remember, previously I said you're not alone in the wild looking for scraps, especially in the recession period. Like I was saying, when you're in the wild, sometimes you do get eaten. So what do I mean? During a downturn, contractors compete on bids severely. The one with the largest pockets will bid low to win the jobs in an effort to starve out the competition. And that what was happening. We were getting starved. The bids were so low, we were not even making any money. Just keeping ourselves busy. That's all we were doing. So I would be the one to tell my father, and took me a while to get to that point, but I told him, this is not working. And it was hard for me to say that. It's hard for anybody to admit defeat. That we're losing this battle. Even in 2020, even today in 2020, like in 2008, this is starting to happen again. Contractors will search for the smell of blood. They're searching for where there's work, where they can make money, because it has dried up in their sector, and the bidding war will get intense. It's always all about who can do it for less. Starve out, kill the competition. During these periods, you must be ready to fight. The light keeps dimming. Keep crawling. Keep crawling. You're eventually going to hit a wall, right? We're trying to look for that light switch. Since we were in the motion of working with cities, I approached the Alameda County and also the city of Hayward. The county would take me on as a contractor, but I needed to be lead certified. So I took a course and became certified. It's a thing. We didn't have a lot of cash at the time, but our family has never been afraid. If there's a tool that we needed to purchase for a job, or if there's a course I needed to take, we did have the money to pay for it, and we were willing to pay. So, I went to, I believe it was in Richmond. I think it was run by the College of Berkeley. The University of Berkeley ran a 2-day course, and I went out there and I took the course, and I did become lead certified. Once I did that, I met with the officials. I completed all the forms, but the phone never rang from the county or the city of Hayward. Some efforts bear fruit, some don't, but don't let the hits slow you down. Keep taking the hits. Keep fighting. You can't get knocked down right now. Remember, I'm already on the ground. The room's already dark. How much lower can I go? Keep lots of things cooking. Eat from one pot while the others are cooking, and the other one is on low. While we were out throwing away garbage and cutting weeds, there was something else going on. That's not all we had cooking. In 2007, I had started a clothing company. I had started making racing clothing in Peru. What was I making? I was making heavy twill crew shirts with embroidery. I had started after my father had some small batch of clothing made, and it sparked my interest. I started making clothing for my local S2000 car club. And then I expanded from that. I learned how to use Illustrator. I would do all the designs. I would create all the logos. I would even do all the design measurements for all the clothing. Everything I did. And I had a friend named Hiro. He happened to be Japanese. And we both started making connections with Japanese racing shops and drift teams. Why is that important? Well, to do business with Japanese, you have to have someone Japanese do the introduction. I can talk about that in many videos to come, but it's very important. So during the almost 2-year run of the company, I would have clients such as Spoon USA, Spoon Japan, AME Wheels in Japan, Drift Speed, which was a Japanese drifting team based in LA, OPAC Racing, and I would do N1 Concepts here in the Bay Area. I would fly down to every Formula D event in Long Beach and Irwindale, met all the pro drivers, met all the different shops. I would walk the paddocks, showing them my wares and giving out business cards and gaining clients. Also, I would fly to Peru to pick up clothing or walk the orders from production put them in the boxes, sealed and ready to go, and I would ship them out to Japan, or I would ship them to LA or San Francisco. Also, I would attend the Magic Show, and the Magic Show is like SEMA for cars. The Magic Show was a huge clothing show in Las Vegas. I would also go there to get educated and also to gain new customers, and also looking for new production accounts. But what killed the business was two things. One, in 2008, was the drying up of marketing dollars, and people were cutting back or even stopping the racing programs. But the major one was that I couldn't maintain the quality of my shirts without me being in Peru. I didn't have a way to control the production quality. And I didn't have an American in Peru to do things as we wanted. I had the language issue, but let me explain more. On my first trip down to seek out production and do research and get more educated about how things were done in Peru, all the successful and large production factories had a Peruvian American planted in place to oversee production, such as Lacoste. Peru has a very valuable Pima cotton, a fabric that is used in all high-end brands. And, if you look at any $100 or $200 polo, they're made with Pima cotton. So, I didn't have someone like that overseeing my production. I wasn't big enough to acquire that or even hire those large factories. I was doing small quantities. I even had thought about staying there, half of the year to maintain production, but I needed someone like me in the United States to do the marketing. And the economy was slowing down. It was not the right time to risk it all and move down there and purchase the equipment and purchase a factory. So I had to close the business. I remember the last order, I had to return the customer's money, and it was actually clothing for a SEMA show. And I just had to be honest with them, the production's not working out and I have to cancel your order. These things happen. But from my experience with production, I did learn a lot, but I have to say there is a reason why China is so dominant in clothing. They have low cost, but most importantly, they understand quality. And in clothing, if you can have quality and low price, you can win. Doing my part to survive. In the winter of 2007, I had a beautiful sports car. It was a fully built Honda S2000 with all the Mugen parts you can get in the catalog. I parted it out and I sold it. My wife at the time had a brand new Toyota FJ Cruiser. It had just come out. Sold it. So I had to sell about $100,000 worth of vehicles. And I went and bought two old 1990 Honda hatchbacks for a total of $4,000. So two cars, $2,000 each, both automatics. So from 100 grand to 4 grand. Also stopped going out to eat, dramatically reduced our spending budget. The whole concept at the time of surviving this period was that I didn't want to lose my house. I wanted to make my payments and I just wanted to be able to eat. It was survival mode. It was a matter of pride for me to hold on to my house. So during this period, I wouldn't take on much as a salary during this period. With all these stories of these different jobs that I did, I was just making enough so I could make my mortgage payment. That was what was principal for me. And then my wife's income would pay for groceries and, utility bills and etc. But that's how I did it at that period. Time to face reality. It's getting really dark now. By 2009, I had closed my clothing company. I was suffering from low self-esteem and stress. I wouldn't say I was in a state of depression, but I was definitely feeling beaten. I didn't have that will to fight anymore. So in the spring of 2009, I told my father, let's stop doing the board ups and the fire cleanup. I knew my father was doing it mainly for me. Remember during that period, I was saying the larger contractors was beating us out. So we were just doing a few jobs here and there. I told him, I'm going to go and get a job. I'm going to be an employee. And he had known that I had sold the cars, and this was just a procession of reality. Who wants to hire an owner? So I started job hunting, applying for positions as an electrician, as a plumber, at government jobs, cities, universities, city inspector positions. But the application process for these state and city jobs would take 4 to 8 months from the time that I put in the application. I didn't have that time. And these are good jobs, life, career positions, but I didn't have time to wait. So other jobs that I tried to apply for, what I was dealing with was, who's going to hire a self-employed contractor who, for practically all my life, has not worked for anyone? With a previous six-figure salary, I was a senior trying to apply for starting positions. So doors were being closed in my face, mainly due to the fact they knew I was highly qualified, but they also knew I would just fly away as soon as the economy came back. So I was too good, and also I was too much of a threat. I'm on the floor. I'm not moving. It's completely dark. I didn't want to keep dragging along my father to these job sites to do cleanup. I knew he would keep doing it for another 100 years. I had zero issues about having faith about that. I knew no matter what, we would get up together and go to work. But that wasn't the point. It was a weird position for me, and it wasn't easy for me to separate from my family, but who I had worked with for over 15 years. I'm extremely dedicated to my family, but I felt just deep down that this wasn't working. It was not financially beneficial. It didn't financially make any sense to keep doing it this way, going in this direction. I had to separate and go on my own. They were both technically retired from their careers. We had done the construction business to further all of our success. And we did have a successful period, but that time had passed. And I was the one that really needed to make an income to survive from my day-to-day. So I was not abandoning my parents. I just had to get out and figure this out, how to survive on my own. On my own. So I went to get a job where they would take anyone with a smile. And I had literally kept passing up this ad for work so many times. I went to go work as a car salesman at an Oakland Japanese car dealer in the summer of 2009. One requirement, I had to cut my hair. I used to always have very long hair. And I had to don a businessman hairstyle. So I dusted off my old realtor suits, shirts, ties, and I entered the sales force, just like all those commercials. Ironed the shirts, dry cleaned the suits. That was me in the summer of 2009. I was trained and greeted into the sales team with open arms, learned the ropes. I sold some cars, and I had actually bought my sports car from this dealership 2 years prior. Total 360. This is how some things happen. But something was wrong. Remember, it was 2009. No one was buying cars. We had huge sales promos with DJs and barbecues, but only the salesmen were dancing. Only we were eating the hot dogs. The managers were telling us of the glory days of selling cars, with all the markups and all the lines of people. Hearing from senior salesmen of how to get your own desk and a leather jacket. It's at one point, I'm telling you, even though with all my experience, I did go in there with an open book, as a blank notepad. Like, I was listening to them as I was 18 years old. Tell me how to make this work. So I was really willing to commit myself to this career and learn the craft and become a successful salesman, sell 20, 25 cars, a week, what it used to be, to my memory. I was going to start all over from zero. I was willing to do it. An unhealthy environment. There was a stench at work. There was something decaying. And it wasn't what was in the microwave in the break room. It was the people in the break room. What do I mean? During our time in the break room is when you had a chance to chat and talk about yourself. And just about everyone had the same story as I did. They all had the Benz, the big house, the jewelry, flying high, successful business owners. And then boom, it was all gone. And now they were transported here. And just like our manager's stories, during break, this is all we would do. Everybody was bragging about their heydays when they were riding high. This was extremely depressing for me. In other words, this is where we all come to die. This is the pit. This is the bottom. We are just a bunch of fallen angels with broken wings. After hearing this at lunch for 3 months, once I finally got it, it was alarm bells in my head. Fight or flight. Ammonia to the nose. Time to get on my knees and try to figure out, where is that light? The time from 2007 to 2009 took a big toll on me. I had lost the fire inside of me and, most importantly, my courage. It was weird it was destructive having our company destroyed and taken away without our own doing. I had a low self-esteem during these years. But sitting in that break room, I could see this was not the answer. This situation is not going to work. I was just going to die there. No one is buying cars. And at that time, they would pay us a 2K draw. I think it was every 2 weeks, they would give us $2,000 no matter what. I could see that wasn't going to continue. I could see I had to move. This ship also was about to sink. I need a plan, and a final one. I wasn't the only one who was having a hard time. My brother-in-law, who was a commercial plumber for over 20 years, his company also had a leadership shift. From a 30-truck company with over 750 employees over 20 years, it was just about to die due to leadership. We had both always talked about forming a company together. Over the years, we had worked together on my homes that I had built. He would come and do all the copper and plumbing work, and he would later teach me, and then I would do it myself. Plus, we were also very close like brothers. So one day when I was in the break room, with this alarm bell, I called him. And I told him, things do not look good here. And I know things don't look good for you either. Why don't we open the company that we've always talked about? I feel I have the will again. I have the will to fight again. I want to make a comeback. How can we do this? He didn't. He responded. He told me to call a senior salesman from one of the manufacturers. And I talked to him about the business industry, about the ins and outs, getting myself educated. Remember, I was coming from a construction field, now going into a plumbing specific field. So I learned also that I would need my plumbing license, because at that time I only had my B1 general contractor license. And then I also spoke with another senior plumbing business owner who had been in business for over 30 years. And we talked about the trade. And, I told him who I was and what my ideas were. And he said, yeah, there's plenty of room. You can come into the market. Just do this one thing. I was like, whoa, what do I got to do? He says, just answer your phone and you will always have work. I moved quick. 2 months later, I passed my test. I had my C36, my plumbing license. I called my brother-in-law and I told him I passed. He told me, go ahead, get the mailers out, form the company, and he would quit his job after taking a month vacation. So I quit my salesman job. Right when I quit, they had just stopped giving us our draw, and we were going to be going to minimum wage. I got out at the right time. So I approached my parents with my new plan, laid out the business model on how I was going to use my business and marketing skills to start this new business. But the critical asset was my brother-in-law. With his years of experience in the industry, knowing the wholesalers, the clients, the trade, the manufacturers, the culture, he was critical. He was my critical asset. They teach you that in business. With the green light from my parents, I created the logo. I bought a vinyl cutter, stickered up my box truck. To add to the business, I purchased my old Tacoma back. So I was going to start the business with my box truck, a little pickup, and also I had my flatbed, which my father would drive to deliver the equipment. So taking from my real estate years, made my own flyer, and I sent out 10,000 mailers to start the business. So we would start as soon as he came back from vacation, I had a few phone calls ready to go. And we would start the business in the fall of 2009. I would pay him his regular salary as if he worked at his old job. And again, I would only take a salary enough to pay my mortgage. And my first customer happened to be my old friend Joey from my S2000 days. And the first month, we probably only had maybe 3 to 5 calls. With 3 to 5 calls, you have a nervous employee. But I had to stay focused. Remember, this was the last chance, the final effort. I put out more mailers. And in November of 2009, we had more calls. And with each call, we would execute the jobs with quality and great response time. I wasn't in the groove yet. It was all new to me still. And it would be a few more years till I really understood it. But in December 2009, after just being open for 3 months, man, that light on that dimmer switch, it went on, full bright. The calls came in and they never stopped. And 2019 has marked 10 years in business. The lights are back on. I can see everything in the room and everyone that's with me. I can see into the future, but most importantly, I can look into my past. I have fully recovered, and now I look to challenge myself more every year. So there is no quick way or shortcut to finding success. It's like fishing. If you don't try every cove of the lake, you will never catch the big fish. And who is catching the big fish? The one with years of experience, the one who has tried everything. It took me many attempts to get back on my feet. In the end, I was able to do it. And I know what I went through. I know what my family has gone through. There is no riches without dirt under your nails. So, I know it has been a long video, but I wanted to give you guys a foundation of how I got to this point. How did I get to 2020 from the 2008 recession crash? And I'm more than happy to dive deeper into each section and I do have more stories to tell. But thank you for watching this episode of How Riko Did It, this series. I believe it's 5 episodes. So if you're just watching this one, please go back and watch all of them. Otherwise, all this thing won't make any sense. But most importantly, take care. Thank you for watching. Please follow me on Instagram and subscribe. Please comment with your questions so I can help me develop topics for future videos. And as always, peace.